Hello, friends. Welcome to my channel, where we dive into the deepest, most captivating, and controversial mysteries of the world, science, history, and faith. Today, we're exploring one of humanity's most debated topics: does science confirm Christian events? Imagine, ancient biblical miracles, from the creation of the world to the parting of the Red Sea, from Jesus' healings to his resurrection, are not just religious tales but events that may have rational, historical, and even scientific foundations. Can modern physics, archaeology, neuroscience, and astronomy shed light on these stories? Or do they remain forever beyond scientific understanding? We'll walk through key moments in the Bible, examine archaeological discoveries, scientific models, eyewitness accounts, skeptical arguments, and conclusions from leading scholars, both believers and atheists. This will be an honest, in-depth, and engaging conversation without dogma or bias. Ready for a true intellectual journey? Subscribe, hit that like button, turn on notifications, and let's dive in. The Bible is not just a spiritual text but a historical and literary document describing thousands of events over a vast period. Among them are the creation of the world, the global flood and the ark, the exodus from Egypt with the parting of the sea, the fall of Jericho's walls, the miracles of the prophets, Jesus' birth, his healings, death on the cross, resurrection, appearances to disciples, and the annual appearance of the holy fire in Jerusalem. For skeptics, these are myths. For believers, they are truth. But science doesn't have to take sides. It can confirm historical context, offer natural explanations for miracles, or leave the supernatural outside its scope. It's important to remember, science studies how, while faith explores why. We won't prove God, but we'll see where the facts intersect. Let's start with the Bible's historical reliability as a document. Archaeology and history provide plenty of evidence that makes biblical events not just faith but part of real human history. For example, a stone inscription found in Caesarea Maritima bears the name of Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea mentioned in the Gospels as the man who sentenced Jesus to the cross. This isn't the only proof. Flavius Josephus, a first-century Jewish historian, wrote about Jesus as a wise man who performed astonishing deeds, was condemned by Pilate to the cross, and whose disciples continued to follow him after the execution. Roman Senator Tacitus, in his Annals, mentioned Christ, executed under Emperor Tiberius by the procurator Pontius Pilate, and how Christianity spread from Judea to Rome. Pliny the Younger, governor of Bithynia, wrote to Emperor Trajan describing how Christians gathered early in the morning, sang hymns to Christ as to a god, and refused pagan sacrifices. These non-Christian sources, written independently of the Bible, confirm Jesus was a real historical figure who lived in Judea, was crucified under Pilate, and his followers quickly spread his teachings. Even atheist scholars like Bart Ehrman acknowledge these facts, though they debate the miracles. Now let's move to the miracles of the Old Testament, which often seem the most fantastical. Take the parting of the Red Sea, or more accurately, the Sea of Reeds, during the Israelites' exodus from Egypt. The Bible describes the waters parting, forming a dry path for the people to cross, then closing to swallow the pursuers. Scientists at the University of Colorado ran computer simulations and showed that a strong east wind blowing all night could create a wind set-down effect in a shallow lagoon north of the Gulf of Suez. The water would recede several kilometers, exposing dry ground for several hours, enough for a large group to pass. This doesn't negate divine intervention but shows God could have used natural laws to achieve his purpose. Similarly, manna from heaven, the bread from the sky, sweet like honey with nuts, may be linked to fungi and lichens in the Negev and Sinai deserts that, under morning dew and heat, secrete sweet crystals matching the biblical description. The Israelites could have gathered enough to sustain an entire people for a long time. The fall of Jericho's walls, after 7 days of marching with trumpets, is another example. Archaeological excavations in Jericho revealed the walls collapsed outward, as if from a powerful shock, not inward as in a typical siege. Traces of a massive fire and unplundered grain in jars align with the biblical account of a city devoted to destruction, where everything was to be burned. Earthquakes are common in the region, and such an event could have been timed with the Israelites' actions. Jesus' miracles in the New Testament include numerous healings: blind men see, the lame walk, lepers are cleansed, the dead are raised. Neuroscience and psychology show that faith and prayer can trigger real physiological changes in the body. Studies at prestigious universities demonstrate that prayer activates specific brain regions, reduces stress, alleviates pain, and even promotes tissue regeneration through placebo and psychosomatic mechanisms. In Lourdes, France, since the mid-19th century, dozens of cases have been officially recognized by the Catholic Church as medical miracles after rigorous review by a committee of doctors, including atheists and specialists of various fields. These are cases where tumors vanished, bones fused, organs regenerated without medical intervention and against all prognosis. Jesus walking on water during a storm on the Sea of Galilee seems physically impossible, but in rare cold winters, thin ice sheets can form on the lake due to specific temperature conditions, invisible from a boat in the darkened waves, creating the illusion of walking on water. Christ's resurrection is the heart of Christianity. The Apostle Paul wrote that if Christ did not rise, faith is in vain. Historians, regardless of belief, accept several undeniable facts. Jesus was crucified by the Romans and buried in a tomb. The tomb was found empty on the third day. The disciples repeatedly saw the risen Jesus in various situations and places, including an appearance to a large group of witnesses at once, and the former persecutor of Christians, Saul, who became the Apostle Paul, converted after a personal encounter with the risen Christ. Alternative explanations like mass hallucination don't hold up. It's impossible for hundreds of people to see the same thing under different conditions. The theory of the disciples stealing the body is also weak. They faced martyrdom and death for what they would have known was a lie. Probability calculations by serious scholars show that the resurrection hypothesis explains all the facts better than any other. The tomb itself in Jerusalem, known as the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, matches first-century Jewish burial customs and is in the location tradition associates with the execution and burial. The Holy Fire in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is an annual phenomenon occurring on Holy Saturday. The Patriarch of Jerusalem enters the tomb's chamber, and candles ignite on their own. Spectrometry shows the fire in the first minutes has an unusual emission spectrum. It leaves no soot on surfaces and doesn't burn skin, even if you hold your hand in the flame. Witnesses, including Muslim police and tourists of various faiths, record spontaneous ignition of lamps and candles without a visible source. Skeptics suggest chemical trickery, but the event happens annually under strict control, leaving many puzzled. Many outstanding scientists see complete harmony between science and faith. The leader of the Human Genome Project considers Christ's resurrection a historical fact confirmed by testimony. A quantum physicist from Cambridge explains that miracles are fully compatible with natural laws, as quantum mechanics shows the world is not deterministic at a fundamental level. An astrophysicist who worked at NASA speaks of the fine-tuning of the universe. Physical constants are so precisely calibrated that the slightest deviation would make life impossible. Skeptics like a famous biologist see miracles as violations of nature's laws, but the response is simple: quantum mechanics allows God to act within those laws without breaking them. The Gospel texts stayed very close to the events they describe, and ancient manuscripts confirm their early transmission without significant distortion. Science confirms the historicity of Jesus, Pilate, places, customs, and many details of the biblical narrative. It offers natural models for some miracles: wind for the sea, fungi for manna, earthquakes for Jericho's walls. The supernatural remains outside science's competence, but it doesn't disprove it. Faith and science are two wings of the same bird. As Pope John Paul II said, they complement each other in the search for truth. Friends, science doesn't prove God's existence or explain every miracle, but it opens the door to faith by showing that biblical events have a solid historical foundation and don't contradict natural laws. If Christ's resurrection is real, it changes everything: the meaning of life, fear of the future, understanding of love and forgiveness. Think about it. How does this affect your life? Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, turn on the bell, share with friends. Don't be afraid to ask questions and seek answers. Truth is closer than it seems. See you next time. Be blessed.